As a hacker, it can be very important to gather intel about your targets. Good intel can be the difference between success and failure. But how do you do that without setting off alarms at your target or without them being able to retroactively identify you? Today, I'm going to show you some tips for creating sock puppet accounts that you can use during OSINT or open source intelligence. Sock puppets are basically fake accounts or alternative online personas that you can use for the purpose of deception and information gathering. And like you're probably thinking right now, yes, the name does come from the puppets that you likely saw as a child. What is the purpose of a sock puppet? There are many reasons people create and use sock puppets. Investigators can use them for collecting information and research. You've probably seen videos or articles about law enforcement using fake personas online to identify and track predators. Hackers often use them for social engineering, as well as for collecting information about a target. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Sock puppets are also a way to just do research online that you don't want being tracked back to you. Say if you're a journalist trying to do some research. Whatever your purpose for maintaining a sock puppet account, or whatever you may be using them, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Signal, LinkedIn, etc., there are some important steps to take to make sure that your sock puppet is untraceable and fail-proof. First, make your account as realistic as possible. Don't skimp on the details. Go above and beyond. Before we keep going, be sure that you hit the bell notification and subscribe so that you're notified when we release future videos. We have several more videos coming out in this OSINT for Hackers series, and you're not going to want to miss them. Here's a little exercise you can do that can help you in this process. Take out a piece of paper and write the name of your individual. We'll get to some things in a little bit that will help you come up with some names if you don't already have one. Put this person's name, skip it if you don't have one. Write down as many details as you can think of about this individual. What are their favorite colors? What are their favorite foods? What clothes brands do they like? Where do they like to vacation? Do they like the mountains? Do they like the beaches? Do they like the desert? What does this individual like? Be as detailed as possible. Where did they go to school? What is their favorite subjects? Now, as you do this and you start managing these accounts, just like with any kind of espionage, it doesn't hurt and it can actually be helpful if you include some real details about yourself in your fake persona so that there's not as much for you to keep up with. Yes, you can keep this piece of paper. You can keep all these details written down, but if you base some of this individual's details on truths that come from your own self, it will be much easier for you to track and keep that up as you age your account and make it look more real, liking, commenting, etc. So let's head to my computer, and I want to show you a few tools and kind of a step-by-step setup process if you want to create a sock puppet account, and some things you can use to make it, again, realistic. So the first step in creating your sock puppet account is figuring out what name you're going to use. You don't want a name that is so, quote, common, John Smith, that it's going to set off alarm bells when you start creating your accounts at, say, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and it's going to ask for proof of verification and identity and things like that. But you also don't want a name that's so unique that it sounds fake. So you have to find a happy medium. And there's a few websites and tools that can help you with this. First one is called Elfcrin, and it can help you create fake IDs. It's got a random name generator, as you can see here. It'll give you a name, a gender, female, Vera Beulah Campbell. Her mother's maiden name is Goodwin. Again, like I mentioned earlier, going above and beyond with those details. A tool like this can help you come up with that. It gives you a date of birth, so you get an age, a birthplace, usernames, passwords that could be used. This is up to you to take. I would create a stronger password just to be safe. You can generate credit card numbers in case that ever comes up, passport numbers, driver's license numbers. It's going to give you a physical appearance about this individual: blonde, hazel eyes, height, religion, favorite color, favorite food, cereal, tons and tons of details about this individual that you can use. Okay, so this is a great resource for getting started. The next one is the fake name generator. Much like Erquin, fake name generator, you can pick, all right, I want a male. What kind of name do I want? Country, the United States. And we're going to get into a name about this individual. Details. Thomas J. Wallace, he's from Fountain Inn, South Carolina. a mother's maiden name, social security number. Of course, there's no last four digits, a phone number, a date of birth, how old this individual is, some email addresses you could format you could use, lots and lots of details, right? Credit card information if you need it, all kinds of things that can be very useful creating a realistic personality. Take this, use it as a basis, build off of this. Maybe you want to modify some of these details. Maybe you want to change a political affiliation. Whatever you want to do for the research you're doing, you use these as a building block to launch off of. The next step, once you know your name, you've written that down, or you've put that in something like Google Drive or OneDrive, Dropbox, save that file somewhere with your details. The next thing you have to do is create an email address. And this is where the technical things are going to kick into place. You need to create an email address that you can use to then go create your social media accounts or wherever you're going to be. Now, keep in mind, depending on what you are doing with your account, and for the ideal sock puppet account, you want who owns this email address to be anonymous. You don't want anyone to be able to trace you based on that email address. So you probably want to be on a VPN or public Wi-Fi when you create this email address. And you can create it anywhere you want. Gmail, Outlook, Proton Mail, as we have see right here. Gmail is probably going to be one of your safest bets. It's very common. It's going to fly better, be more accepted by social media accounts when you go create them than if you use some weird, secure, secluded email provider. Not that Proton Mail is, but some of the other ones. That could set off alarm bells at the social media giants, Twitter, Facebook, etc., when you go create your account, and then they'll ask for verification and it can get you in trouble. Now, when you create your account, wherever you choose to, be that Gmail, be that Proton Mail, be sure that your name looks realistic and it's not just a random set of strings, numbers, and characters. That is a huge giveaway for fake accounts. And again, this email account is just to be used for your sock puppets, only for creating those sock puppet profiles. That's the only time you want to use that, and for tasks related to those sock puppets. This is not a personal email account. It's going to give yourself away. Now, some things to keep in mind about your email provider, your profile, where it says you're from, and as you go creating your social media accounts, when you get to that point, is the location. If you're using a VPN to be anonymous, which that can get tricky with Facebook, Twitter, things like that, because they block VPNs most of the time. There are ways to get around it. If your location of your VPN outlet is near where you say your account is from, it's more likely to slide by than if you say you're from New York City and your VPN is coming in from China. Keep that as close as possible. If you say from New York City, have a VPN outlet in New York City, or just go use public Wi-Fi. Go find a McDonald's, go find a Burger King that you can go there, use the public Wi-Fi for creating your sock puppet account, and then for maintaining it, aging it, etc. You're probably going to want this to be somewhat near you that you can actually get there reasonably. But then again, keeping anonymous, how close to home, if you can be tracked, those are all things you want to keep up with, depending on the sensitivity of the nature you're doing. If this is for journalists and very sensitive topics, you're going to want to take every precaution that might be necessary. But before you can actually go create your social media accounts, there's something else you have to do. You have to have a profile photo. The thing to watch about profile photos is, yes, I can go and get a stock photo from somewhere of some person, right? So let's say I pick this stock photo from Pexels. If someone comes and does a reverse image search on this image and looks it up, they're going to be taken to Pexels. They're going to know this is a stock image and most likely a fake account. So you don't have to have a person's face on your profile. There are plenty of social media profiles that don't have faces. That is an option. Now, granted, you're likely going to have more success when you have a friendly face on your profile. And just a little caveat on this, it's just a known given fact that when it comes to sock puppets, female accounts do better than male accounts. They're more accepted, and they can get more information the majority of the time. So that's something to keep in mind. So instead of trying to use a stock photo or some other person and editing it, you can use a website called This Person Does Not Exist. And This Person Does Not Exist is a image generator, and it is going to use AI and create a face of someone that does not exist. Okay, so what do we have? We have an Oriental lady, and they are very, very realistic looking. You could definitely use these for your profiles. So if this face matches the individual for my profile, or if I want to go create a profile to match this face, that's great. Otherwise, you can simply wait a few seconds, refresh this, and get a completely different person that is AI generated. So using this can be a great way to create a very, very realistic profile photo that is not a stock image and can't be traced back or discovered that it's a fake account. Now, as you know, a lot of times when you create these accounts, Twitter, Facebook, whatever social media you're using, WhatsApp, Signal, a lot of times they want to use phone numbers for verification. Most of them block VoIP numbers. So things like Google Voice, a lot of those VoIP providers don't work. They're not valid for verification because anybody can get them. They want real phone numbers. So that can be a challenge when you are creating your sock puppet account. So one very common option that a lot of OSINT people do is they'll use Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is a prepaid mobile provider. And what they'll do is they'll buy a cheap burner phone. And again, this depends on the sensitivity of your work. Your phone does have an identifier that can be tracked, what device that is. You are going to want a burner phone. Buy a cheap Android device. You can get those used on eBay, any of those sites very, very cheaply. Use something like Mint Mobile, one of these prepaid mobile providers, and get a trial. Do their 7-day trial. They'll send you a SIM card. You can put that SIM card into your burner device that you purchased, and you can use that to set up your sock accounts. Now, you're going to want to go and change your security settings on those so that any future verification goes to your email and not to a phone number if you are only keeping this SIM card temporarily for that setup purpose. If you plan to use this SIM card, that phone number down the road, 2FA, things like that, then you might want to look into one of their low-cost plans. Again, this is going to depend on the nature of the OSINT you're doing, how serious you have to be. Do you need texting and things of that nature? Any of the messaging apps, Signal, WhatsApp, you don't necessarily have to have a mobile device. But again, as you create this phone number, this burner phone, you make your purchases, be sure that you're using your anonymous email address so that it can't be tracked back to you. Be sure you're, again, on public Wi-Fi, McDonald's, Subway, or on a VPN, something of that nature, so that that can't be traced back to you. And how are you going to pay? You can pay with cards from privacy.com. And privacy.com they offer much more than anonymous. Basically, what you do, you create an account, you tie it to your bank account, to your own card, and then it generates virtual credit cards that you can use. So what it's used for typically is you create a subscription. Most of us have subscriptions we sign up for a trial and we forget about, and they just charge over and over. We don't even use it. So you can create these virtual cards and use, say, one card for your new Amazon Audible subscription, and you set it to only allow payments for so long, so much money a month. And it's great for general use and general online security. But what you can do for your Sock Puppet account is you can use this privacy.com virtual cards to purchase your SIM card, to purchase your burner phone, anything else you purchase, again, so that those cards, those details are not traceable back to you. And once you have all of this groundwork laid, you've got your identity, details about your individual, their profile photo, email address, you've got a phone number that you can set these accounts up with. Now you can go and you can actually create your accounts on social media, on messaging boards, on forums, wherever your OSINT takes you. You can create these accounts with those profiles. Now, be sure you're using public Wi-Fi, you're using a VPN, you're staying anonymous. Nothing you're doing can be traced back to you. Keep that in mind. That's very, very important throughout your OSINT practices. One thing I forgot to mention is once you create your Sock Puppet account, be sure that you age your account. You're going to want this account to look real before you start asking information from individuals. So use it daily, every other day for several months before you actually start using this Puppet account for OSINT. Follow people, act like a normal human being, and whatever cadence your activity is, not every individual use a social media every day. Some people use it once or twice a week. But be realistic about how you use it, how you age your account, and actually using your account, looking at things, interacting with things in your social media accounts, so that this profile, again, looks very, very realistic when you are ready for your OSINT to go use your sock puppet account. So that's something to keep in mind. So those are some tips and strategies for you to set up a sock puppet account for the purpose of OSINT, whether you're doing OSINT for hacking, OSINT for any kind of investigation. Those are some tips and strategies. I'll include all the references and some additional references for you in the show notes. Be sure that you take this, build on it, age your own sock puppet, and go see what you can do with it.